In this episode of RPT, I'm completely disassembling this A-100 Golden Jubilee 57 International Harvester for parts for that truck. Oh my god!
And just rip that sucker right off.
I'm probably only going to get the front clip today, but we're going to go for it. Fenders, front end, grill, everything, bumper. The hood's already disassembled, just a couple bolts there. We've already removed the hood in the past, so it was already just sitting here, but long story short, 2 bolts there, 2 bolts there, attached to the hinges, comes right off. So I have removed most of the bolts from here, but you can tell I don't have all of them. And the reason why, you can see that I got a lot of these off, there's holes down there. The reason why I don't have all of these is because on the IH fenders there are these little clips. The ones that I did get, the broke heads actually broke off because of just how rusty this truck is, and I consider that lucky. Because the worst thing is if the clip breaks, then you're just spinning this in the hole. And it's very difficult to hold your arm on each side of the fender. So what I did with this one, I ended up getting my dad's help, but I realized I bought this fishing magnet for the purpose of fishing, magnet fishing, to get metal from the bottom of lakes and stuff like that. You tie a rope to it and throw it in the water. But the other good thing is to either use it to hold a wrench or use it to directly hold the bolt for you. So what I'm gonna do is put this on here, just like that, because it's a very powerful magnet. And if it doesn't hold the bolt, what I'll do is I'll put a wrench right next to it and have it hold a wrench. And then it can do my work for me. It's just terrible to get a wrench on these because they're a square nut. It's a whole ordeal. Most of them just broke clean off because this truck is so rusty. The body panels are good, but it's seen better days. That's why it's a parts truck, and it's a Golden, but I don't feel bad parting it. I mean, it's got no floors, no cab corners. The bed was in pretty rough shape. I had to replace the entire box to use it for my truck because I used the same step sides. That's the step side going on my truck right there. We have it on this one just for temporary. Either way, I'm gonna get this off, and then the only other thing you gotta do on the A series, if they have this pull here, you gotta remove this so it can come off. Normally there should be rockers here, and it would come out in this spot right here. There's a bolt here where it should attach to rockers that don't exist because I pulled them to put on my truck, and they were pretty rusty anyway. And then there's just this spot right here on the side of the fender where there's a couple holes here, and you can remove this. There you go. And one of these broke off right here. The other one did not. So I'm gonna go through and get this off. Fenders and front end. I removed the hood and the grill. The other thing I removed are the headlights. And I'm gonna keep these because I have a feeling if I test them, they might work. We don't throw things away around here. And I might keep these if they're still good as well, where the headlights connect. So I'll probably come back when that front clip is removed. Alright, so definitely got a lot of work done. The magnet didn't work. It did work last time I tried it on my truck. These bolts were all totally rusted though. I ended up actually having my mom come out here and help me remove them while I was on the other side holding it with the vice grips, the clip. And even when we did that, most of them just snapped right off after the clip had broke. So we got that fender off, front end off, headlight, bezels are already off, and I'm gonna go ahead and take off this inner fender. You remove the inner fender with this bolt, that bolt, and then there are 3 more here. One of them was already attached to nothing and it just fell out. There's 3 more here, and then I believe this inner fender should just come out. And then the front end had that carriage bolt right here, and I just went underneath at the impact and I removed it right there. We're gonna disassemble this whole engine at some point too, but for today we're just gonna get the inner fenders, the fenders, the front end, just this whole front clip off the Golden. I gotta wait for my dad to get home so he can move his truck, and then this will be for parts. I removed the emblem off of this fender, and then I got another hood and a spare front end. I got a lot of good spare parts here. This emblem came off of that fender. It's still in one piece and there's no screws through it, and all the studs are there, so that's cool. Alright, this truck is this is one of the last times it'll be seen alive. It's going to be completely disassembled. I'm even going to go as far as taking these cross members for my truck. Like this cross member here, if mine ever rusts out, I am definitely going to want this one because my engine mounts into holes that are right here. So if this ever rusts out on my truck, I'd definitely be sad. I'm going to end up taking all these cross members and just have 2 long pieces of C-channel, and those will go into stock in the backyard, just with all our scrap metal. Alright, well, get back to it, I guess. Okay, several weeks after I left off filming the disassembly of the A-100 Jubilee. To get the fenders off, I left off with telling you guys that I would use a magnet to get them off. Instead, I actually had my mom come out here and help me break the bolts loose because Dad was not home from work and we needed the truck moved back where it is. I also obviously removed the front bumper over there, and I replaced the front bumper onto my truck. I put eye bolts back onto it. Oh, there's a big shadow. And you just remove that with what would be a carriage bolt here and a carriage bolt here on the Golden, and then there's obviously threads on the other side. And when I put it back, I put a hex head and eye bolts for pulling or whatever. Put a rope through them and rip shit out. And those nuts there are just easier to remove than using flat carriage bolts. It's just annoying. So over here, obviously, everything's off. Like I said, fenders are off. Front end's off, hood's off, bumper's off. All of the radiator in this front mount has already been off for a very long time. That's been on my truck. I have started to clean out the cab as well. And part of the reason why I don't feel too bad parting this truck out is because of this cab is just so ruined. It's pretty rough at the bottom. There's a lot of good pieces on this vehicle, but it had a lot of rust. I mean, there's no rockers here. There's supposed to be floor steps in this door, because it's supposed to look like this. There's supposed to be a floor step here. My whole front floor in here, from here on, is like the same thing, and I had a lot of rust as well. But I mean, it's mostly solid. It's solid metal. That thing's just gone. We'll be getting this truck out of here soon enough, though. I'm gonna remove this seat right now. I already took off the top bench. Obviously, that's just a cushion. It comes right out. That's what I got sitting right here. I'm just gonna give these away to whoever wants them, honestly. I'll probably make a Facebook post and just say, hey, come get them. I guess some people want them for the springs and the mounts, and these springs are good. They're still painted black in there, so if someone wants to get these reupholstered, you can probably use them. I don't need them. I'm putting seat belts in my vehicle. And these seats are just removed by the few bolts hold them on around here somewhere. Can't remember where they are. Oh, right down here and over here where my finger is, there's a couple bolts right there. And then this lever, what it does, when you hold it up like this, it pulls this side, and you could move the seat back and forth. It's kind of stuck, but I'm gonna try to carefully cut off these mounts as well, so that whoever has this seat, if they want it, has the mounts that will move back and forth. Might be kind of difficult, but they're in good shape. They're not rusty, or maybe a little rusty, but they could definitely be cleaned up and re-welded. This panel here is supposed to be mounted to the floor. It's totally gone. This is the transmission cover panel. Other parts, like the whole front clip is in my new bed. This is not the bed from this truck. This came from that guy in Kentucky. There's a video on the channel where we picked this up, and that's going to be going onto that truck over there. I don't know if you can see it. The sun's kind of in my eyes. But obviously my whole front clip's in the back here. This thing's got some rust damage here and wherever, but it's a lot more straight than the one I have on my truck. I'm tempted to maybe fix the rust damage on it and use this one instead, just because it's not dented, it's just rusty in a few spots on the bottom. So I'm tempted to cut them out and put in new paneling or whatever, because it might be better than what I have. Mine was damaged and cracked like along all up here, and I already re-welded that back on before I even had this, but it's very straight and clean, so I'll have to decide what I want to do. But this might be on my truck. This will be on my truck. This is better at what I have. I am going to also cut out this design piece back here. There's a little bit of an indent, and when I put the golden bed on my truck, the gas tank I have, my auxiliary gas tank, comes out from the back wall because I don't have a pillar that's this big. It's just a small strip, and you can see that. It comes out right behind the back wall here. So what I'm going to do, because it's not long enough to go through the side of a bed, I'm going to remove this pipe here, and that's just held on with those two screws right there. Trying to get with those screws and hose clamps. And I'm going to cut out this section, and I'll graft it into the sides that I have on the Golden Jubilee bed, so that it will actually come out of the back of the bed. And then this pipe, I'll put hose clamps onto the other one, so this cap will match my original non-auxiliary gas tank on my truck. So that'll be pretty cool when it's done too. Also, I just took out the windshield because it wasn't really in there in the first place. We're just gonna throw it in a dumpster at Dad's work. It's already cracked, it's done. The gasket wasn't even holding it. We just literally had it sitting there. So that's not a big deal at all. We're just gonna get rid of it. All getting closer to completely disassembling this thing every day. Pretty soon we'll have the cab pulled off, and I got a bunch of spare parts for myself. Spare cowls, spare half of a roof. My dad might make cab corners out of this for his truck over there and shape them, because it's kind of similar in design. There's a lot of pieces here. Extra dashboard for me. I don't need that steering column or the 3-speed transmission, so I will be listing those soon enough as well. But I got a lot of stuff. I'm gonna completely bust down this frame on the Golden though, and have 2 long strips of C-channel, because I want the cross members in there for my truck. Because if a cross member like this front one here, ever rust through on my truck, which would be bad, obviously, the engine is supported by it right here. So I'd be very happy if I had an extra one, and I do right now, so I don't want to get rid of it. And it also mounts on that cross member in the middle there, way in there. I don't know, where am I finding that? Right there. It mounts on that cross member, and I got extra engine mounts there as well. I mean, I got an extra engine block and all kinds of stuff. A lot of these parts we can share. It would have to be bored out to 240, but for it to be correct. But you know, whatever, it's fine. Extra, it's all good. Don't need the axles though. Little axles for the Golden, half-ton, whatever, so I'll be listing those as well. But yeah. The main reason why I'm out here today though is to pull the assembly for the gas pedal right now. And how this works is if you were sitting in the cab over there and you hit the gas pedal, it would, a bunch of cobwebs everywhere, it would pull this, just like this. And then what that does is it goes through the engine. There's a rod that goes all the way through the engine, and it comes around and it tugs on this, and that's what pulls the carb, so that when you hit the gas pedal, it spins all the way through the engine, turns this, and I need that on my truck because I never had it by the time I got it. And so that's what I'm going to be pulling off today, and I will be doing my best to paint it and install it. Probably won't install it today, I just wanted to get it removed. But it's cool to have, and also it's really interesting because on my truck there is this pin right here that goes through the floor, and there's this spring attached to it obviously, and inside of my truck that pin is actually still there. And the really interesting thing is my truck's not had an IH engine in it since the early 70s. It had a Buick engine in there. So it's just interesting to me because I would have never known what that pin is for unless I had this Golden to see how everything's set up. I also took like off the oil pan, the oil pump, the front mount, the radiator shrouds, the fan. Like so much of this truck is already on my truck right now. And more of it will be on my truck. That's why I bought it, for the parts. But very, very thankful to have it. My truck would not work without this one being sacrificed. And it would have definitely been hard to find a lot of these parts if this vehicle was not sacrificed. My truck had like nothing. Either it was all broken, wrong, or not there. So, sorry little guy, but you're getting eaten by the bigger one. Okay guys, so I have removed the actual bench seat in here. The interesting thing I guess is this back wall is actually very similar to the back wall in my dad's Travelette, because this one is a rounded back wall and this is also a rounded back wall. The main difference is in the middle on the floor here there's a small hump, because his hump actually goes through the whole vehicle. On this one it kind of stops right here and then just turns into a more flat floor. In 61 they changed the body style to be for a lower ride, and my dad jacked his truck up anyway to ignore that. But this truck was much higher off the ground. That's why there's supposed to be steps here to lower it to the ground, I think. And it just made it look better. You can step in. These doors are actually slightly taller than the doors starting in 61, so that's neat I guess as well. Over here is the actual seat that I removed, and I did find someone to actually come pick it up. They're going to be coming on the 2nd of next month, so that's pretty nice. I'm just giving it away. I just literally don't need it, and I don't like wasting things, and I might try to pawn off this gas tank on them as well. It's in very good shape overall. The only rough thing about it is there are 2 pinholes right here, but I feel like it could be resealed. Other than that, it's actually in surprisingly good shape. I'm keeping this nozzle though for myself because I'm gonna graft it into my Golden bed and use it on my huge auxiliary gas tank. And that will come through the side of the Golden bed, and I'll graft in this little piece right here, or I might even just make my own, into the side of the bed so that it matches the gas tank on the driver's side of my truck. So, because on mine, like I said before, it comes out the back right here. But I'm gonna go ahead and cut these things out with a cutoff wheel as carefully as I can so that I don't really ruin them. I'm gonna try not to. But yeah, so these will go into another 58 2-door in North Carolina. The dude who asked for the seats actually had messaged me before, and it is his dad who messaged me on Facebook, and it's like his dad's cousins or something who are gonna come pick it up, and then it'll make its way all the way down to North Carolina, and it'll go into 58 2-door IH truck down there. I hope that he reupholsters this with the same design how it is in the Golden, because it is kind of a pretty design. But if he just does it with whatever, I wouldn't be surprised. It's not going back onto a Golden, it's going back onto a regular 58, but it would be kind of neat. The opportunity is there.